There he goes again. That's huge. That's on the roof.
Welcome to Dean at Stumps, the cricket encyclopedia.
The Sri Lankans are stunned. The Zimbabweans are jubilant. Look what that means to them. The first ever series victory against Sri Lanka.
Well, it's been a while, but it's good to be back with you. Hello and welcome to the Dean at Stumps podcast with me, Dean du Plessis. Now, as most of us now already know, the suspension or the ban by the ICC against Zimbabwe cricket for so-called government interference has now been lifted. And once again, cricket will hopefully resume in the way that many fans would like it to resume. Well, a couple of days ago, the chairman of Zimbabwe Cricket, Dr. Tavengwa Mukuhlani, had a press conference confirming the reinstatement and the lifting of the ban. And afterwards, I was able to catch up with the chairman. And he first of all spoke about the pressure that he and his team were under while Zimbabwe were serving their ban.
Quite a lot of pressure. You can imagine that employees, staff, players not getting paid, and with a cloud of uncertainty hanging over their careers, hanging over their lives, their families. So, and they look up to you as a leader to provide answers, to show leadership, to find solutions. So, considerable amount of pressure. But I must say, the players in their entirety, regardless of the fact that some would say this one took this side, someone took this side. But look, I believe it was all for the sake of getting cricket back. This is their life. So they gave me a lot of support. They gave the board a lot of support. And we managed to get a solution to this.
I know that there were certain players who perhaps were a bit more vocal than you would have liked. But do you feel that now that everything has been resolved, is the trust between yourself and those players, do you think that will once again be rekindled and that we'll be able to focus on once again getting back on track?
Our purpose as Zimbabwe Cricket, we don't run a disciplinary camp. We run a cricket organization. And understandably, at the time, there was no direction. No one knew which direction we're going to take. No one knew how the end would look like. So yes, a bit of excitement on a few players. And as I said, we will try to be as open as we can so that players are part and parcel of the processes at Zimbabwe Cricket. If that happens, then the players are well informed and they will know how to deal with issues. And of course, trust, it's a two-way traffic. They've got to trust me, I've got to trust them. And the only way that we can achieve that is that I've got to be a leader. I've got to be the bigger voice in the room. I must embrace everyone. We take each other step by step, try to understand each other, learn each other, and embrace the views of different people and help each other where there need to be corrections.
Do you feel that perhaps mistakes were made from both parties or all parties? In other words, SRC, certain players, Zimbabwe Cricket. If so, if those mistakes have been made, do you feel that there are? How would you rectify the mistakes that would have been made? If indeed you feel that there were mistakes by all parties.
Look, my belief is that SRC is a sports regulator in Zimbabwe. And when they feel something has gone wrong, they have a right to step in. That is a given. We can't take that from them. And if that doesn't happen, then there will be chaos within the sporting fraternity. I guess what we need to improve between us, ZC, and SRC is communication. A lot of issues that came up, a lot of the things that transpired would have been solved by very simple communication, sitting down and getting each other's side well in advance. But as I said, this is a new board that came in and found cricket topical. And as I already indicated, they are a regulator who, when they believe that there's a problem within an association, they must step in.
What are the immediate concerns you would like to address? I mean, there's a lot of work that has to be done, Doc, isn't there? So where do you start? Because it's at the moment, it seems like it's a mountain that is very difficult to climb. So obviously you start at the bottom of the mountain to get to the top. But what are the areas that you would like to address and try and rectify and correct as soon as you, or as quickly as you're able to? Because all of this will take time.
We have to immediately put a structure that addresses cricketing issues. We have to have a portfolio, an office within Zimbabwe Cricket that specifically deals with cricketing issues of the national team, player welfare, selection, coaching, domestic cricket, all those issues. We must have an office that deals and that speaks to those issues. Those are the most problematic issues. That selection is not done fairly. Selection is not being done scientifically. Domestic cricket is not in good shape. Club cricket is not in good shape. But with a director of cricket in place, he will then, or she will then, have to deal specifically with those issues, speak to those issues, engage with players, engage with SRC, engage with schools, engage with clubs, and understand where things are going wrong.
Why do you think club cricket and schools cricket has taken a bit of a dip? Because in the press conference, you very correctly alluded to the fact that club cricket isn't what it used to be, and that you being Zimbabwe Cricket, would like to get a bit more involved again. Why do you think that happened? That there was that gap started to happen between club cricket, schools cricket, and Zimbabwe Cricket, perhaps not being as involved as you would have liked?
Firstly, it's an issue of the economy.
Yeah.
So people shy away from expenditure generally, and then secondly, I think at some stage ZC took the eye off the ball. Our provinces must be accountable to Zimbabwe Cricket as to what is happening with club cricket within their respective areas. That is not happening, and we need to go and take stock of which clubs are in Midlands. At what level of cricket are they playing? Where are they playing the cricket from? Who is in charge of those clubs? Who is actually administering those clubs? Are they being administered well? We need to go and look at all that. That is
facilities as well, I would imagine.
Facilities as well.
Yeah.
We need to check what facilities are within the localities. How are they being maintained? And we need to re-engage with schools, because that's our feeder system. We thank God the private schools still run a decent program for cricket, but even then we need to re-engage with the private schools. We need to build that trust with the private schools. We need them to be actively participating within the programs for Zimbabwe Cricket, and also to bring new players within the schools arena.
And you alluded to in the press conference that there is quite a bit of, well, it's a hectic 2020. Can you give us a bit of a preview as to how many tours have been confirmed, what tours in the pipeline? Because I'm sure a lot of people would like to know.
There's I think we are going to have, maybe put it simple, within the next 4 years we may have about 92 days of playing cricket.
Wow.
International cricket, which is quite a lot. We've got the Cricket World Cup Championship League for the 50 over, which is coming, and I look forward to that because that gives us an opportunity to play England. Yeah. And we've guaranteed matches for India, and you see with the new structure that ICC is rolling out of every an ICC event every year for the next 8 years. That's an awful amount of cricket. under 19 women's cricket, so there's a lot of tours. Ireland will be coming to us, Sri Lanka will come to us, the Netherlands, India will come to us, Pakistan will come to us, Afghanistan will come to us, Bangladesh is coming to us twice.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a bit.
Finally, and this is a much lighter note, by the way, but I'm going to put you on the spot as a cricket fan, which I know you are. Who do you feel is the next captain to take Zimbabwe forward? I know you're probably going to tell me that, that's up to the board, that's not up to me, but as a cricket lover, not as a chairman of Zimbabwe Cricket, who would you like to see captain this team?
Look, we have a vice captain in place who I think is a very good young man overall in terms of his cricket, and he's a polished young man in PJ Mo. We have tried Sean Williams, who believe he has got the zeal to win. He doesn't want to lose, hard worker. But there are a lot of other youngsters. We are not in a hurry. We want to try and be as scientific as we can be to try and pick the next captain for Zimbabwe, and a person who would command respect from all and sundry, within the changing room. And soon after this would be a bit too early to do that. We want tempers to cool, the dust to settle, the team to gel. We want them to find each other, to trust each other. Then we take the next step.
Right, well, that was Tavengwa Mukuhlani in conversation with me a couple of days ago, talking about trying to get Zimbabwe cricket back on track. But, some of the things he said were a little mystifying. Others he said were quite positive. And we just hope that the positive sides that he spoke about really are put into action. And that once again, we can see development amongst the youngsters, correction of facilities which really have gone to waste, and of course all the national teams and the A teams getting as much game time as we possibly can. At the moment, it sounds a little insurmountable, but of course we hope for the best and try to remain as positive as we possibly can. Now, a Zimbabwean who has now decided to make his roots or to settle in Somerset in England, 22-year-old left-handed top-order batsman Eddie Byrom has now, as I said, made Somerset his own. He's spent quite a couple of seasons there now and played alongside the likes of Marcus Trescothick, Peter Trego, Chris Rogers, Baba Azam, and a number of well-established first-class and international players as he continues to make his way in hopefully the right direction. And I was able to catch up with Eddie Byrom in the first of a two-part interview, who first of all started off by telling us a bit more about the 100, which is, that's as it is affectionately known for the moment, the 100, which will be getting underway next season. It's an initiative launched by the ECB. So what exactly is the 100? Here is Eddie Byrom.
Yeah, the 100's been a pretty controversial topic, to be honest, Dean. The main idea was that there was going to be an English franchise tournament, but they wanted something different which was going to stand out to the rest of the world and really appeal to a new audience. There was obviously quite a lot of backlash on how was it going to be different, how was it going to work, what was going to make it really stand out. And there have been a few key points that they've come up with to make it a bit different. Some people agree with it, a lot of people disagree. But ultimately it is a new format, only just from T20. Probably another big difference is that a bowler can bowl 10 balls at one time.
Right.
So, there's a couple of differences, but, still the same game. And last night the draft was done, and there was priced band brackets, and it pretty much went from one team to the 8th team, where they each got to pick a player for that band bracket. They had 100 seconds to sort of pick each player that they wanted, and then it just went all the way down in a zigzag fashion towards the bottom.
That's quite remarkable. So a lot of people were saying it sounded more like a quiz show with this 100 seconds to try and pick a player. And obviously, as you said, a lot of people are incredibly opposed. In fact, there's a hashtag which is trending on Twitter saying hashtag oppose the 100. As a cricket lover, I mean, obviously you're very happy to be a part of it, but as a cricketer or a cricket lover, were you first taken by surprise when this initiative was launched by the ECB?
I was, and actually there was a lot of, I wouldn't say backlash from the players, but a lot of uncertainty over what it was going to mean for our county cricketers. And what, obviously there's a positive in terms of, okay, the financials are going to be there, it's good for players in that sense, but what other backlashes were they going to be negatively on the county game? And I guess the big one would be that it's for the fans, really, that on average, I'd say every county's probably lost around 5 cricketers that, normally they're some of their best ones being picked up in the 100 draft. And so for supporters, they coming to watch half of a second string team for the 50 over competition. Now the 50 over competition in England is probably regarded as the least important competition.
Right.
I know England's just won the World Cup, so that probably doesn't make any sense, but it has at the moment it's seen as the least important, so that's why the 100 is taking place alongside the 50 over competition. They didn't want to compromise the 4-day cricket or the T20, so 50 over cricket was the sort of only one where they could really fit the tournament in without there being too much backlash.
But it's quite surprising, isn't it? Because a lot of people feel that Test cricket is a cricket which is under threat. But if you have a look at the grounds, all the venues, admittedly we've just had an Ashes series, but generally speaking, the English supporters do love a bit of Test cricket, don't they?
Absolutely. Although money is a big thing and T20 is becoming more, predominant, I think Test cricket really still plays on people's heartstrings. It's still the one format and always will be that one format that will test the cricketer to his ultimate and will really create that feeling of involvement from a crowd. When Stokes created that moment at Headingley with my mate Jack Leach at the other end, that's something that people won't forget for a long time. But there would have been, other, one-day games which would have been just as exciting at the time, but won't be remembered as well.
Yeah, I think that makes a great deal of sense. Eddie, let's talk a bit about you now. So you're Zimbabwean born, but you've now very much settled your roots in England. Is that a given that you would like to obviously settle down for good in England, and hopefully one day, if you consistently score runs and you fulfill the qualification criteria, that you'd one day be wanting to play for England? Or is there still a bit of a hope that maybe if situations were to improve and change in Zimbabwe, that you'd be wanting to come back to the country of your birth?
I think it's the former, Dean, where I've settled here. I've really found a county that I love in Somerset. I think it would be wrong of me to sort of have all my options open and have my eggs in a couple of baskets. I think you've really got to commit to one or the other, especially when it comes to playing for a nation. It's quite a big thing, quite a big commitment. And for me, I'm very happy here. And definitely looking forward, I really would love to play for England.
And again, I think a lot of people understand that. So basically following in the footsteps of the likes of Gary Ballance and previous years, Graham Hick as well. And of course, I guess the Curran brothers to a lesser extent, because they kind of grew up in England and in South Africa. So not sure you'd really class them as Zimbabweans. But Eddie, you've also had the experience of opening the batting alongside a true great of English cricket, especially at first class level, Marcus Trescothick. What is it like working alongside somebody who's played the game successfully for so many years?
Yeah. And it's been absolutely incredible for me from such a pretty young age, probably 17 when I first met Trez, and we've worked pretty well together. And when you don't really when you see someone on TV, you can't really get a full context of that person. But Trez is just one of the absolute nicest, hard-working professionals you could ever wish to meet. And he certainly helped me a lot with my batting. He's played at the top level and excelled at it.
Yeah.
So to have someone like him has been, a real godsend for me at Somerset. But he hasn't been the only one in terms of opening batters. At Somerset we've had in recent years Chris Rogers, who I've worked with a bit, Dean Elgar, Matt Renshaw, more lately Azhar Ali and Babar Azam. I might be missing one out there. But, for me it's been really incredible to have those sort of names around me.
Well, that was the first part of the interview I had with Eddie Byrom, a Zimbabwean-born batsman who's now settled in Somerset. So how was Eddie Byrom able to get involved with playing county cricket at Somerset?
At the age of 16, I had a good family friend who lives in England, lives in Exeter. The Zimbabwe cricket situation, as it has been for many years, was pretty unstable. My dad, why doesn't Eddie try and look at coming to the UK to finish his school? He's got an Irish passport. That way, he's going to keep his options open. And he actually, by chance, sat down at a rugby dinner with what turned out to be my head of sport at the college or the high school that I ended up going to. And he talked to him about me and got chatting. And probably 3 or 4 months later, I went to King's College in Taunton, had a look at the school, spoke to the head of cricket there, met the headmaster, all that sort of stuff. And, at 16, I then had to make that decision that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to King's College in Somerset and, pursue a career here in England.
The similarities to yourself and Gary Ballance and Graham Hick are actually quite scary, really. Both getting across and pursuing their careers, or your career as it is, at a young age. Do you still follow Zimbabwe cricket, Eddie? I mean, do you still kind of know what's happening here? Are there any of the people who you played with and against at the various age groups that you still follow closely?
I do. I actually was there a couple of seasons ago playing for the Rising Stars.
Yes.
And one of my good mates there was Ryan Burl. I'm in regular contact with him. And obviously a lot of the other guys there who I played with, Tinashe Kamukamwe, Richard Ngaraba. I see Tony Munyonga's getting go in the national side too.
Yeah.
Taffy, I forget his surname. Taffy's in Australia now.
Yes.
Playing with his brother there, Taffy Mupariwa.
That's right.
A couple of guys I really spent some good time with when I was there, and still keep in contact with.
And do you still have that nostalgic pang, thinking to yourself, gosh, I love playing the cricket here, but even in the summertime, the weather can be pretty miserable, whereas the winters back home in Zimbabwe, you can still play a good game of cricket and have the sun shining down on your back, or have you completely sort of adapted to situations and said, well, this is how it is now, and I'm giving everything I have to my county and eventually to my adopted country?
Yeah, I think there's always going to be one or two things which you might miss, but I certainly am adapted, I guess is a good word here. I absolutely love it in Somerset and love the culture that we've created within our squad. In terms of the nostalgic feelings, growing up there was great. I enjoyed playing my cricket there when I was younger, but ultimately, I think, the last couple of years have proved my decision to probably be the right one.
Yeah.
Zimbabwe cricket has been pretty unstable throughout the last couple of years, and it's not a nice place for a cricketer to be, not knowing if you're going to have a job 1 month to the next. so I'm very happy where I am.
And I guess it goes again. I keep bringing up these similarities. Graham Hick, way back, said, if he had known that Zimbabwe cricket were going to get Test status, he would have stayed. But Zimbabwe only got Test status in 1992, by which time he had qualified to play it for England. And it's the same as you, I guess. If you were guaranteed that the situation were to come right, or if it was stable in the first place, it would have been a very different situation for you. But you've now made decisions, and obviously many people will support you, Eddie. But tell us a bit about your time in the Vitality Blast, the T20 season that you had, which made a lot of people sit up and take note. I was privileged to watch some of your innings that you had, and some of the shots that you play are just outrageous.
Yeah. It was a funny one, really. I was playing in the second team. I was, doing pretty well, to be honest. And the Somerset team has been a really hard team to break into. There's been some really experienced players in there. And, with experience, you get given a bit of rope with how many games you get. And I think it was about the fourth game that I made my debut this year where our captain, Lewis Gregory, got injured. This is now playing for England.
Yeah.
But then also at the number 3 spot, an experienced campaigner, Pete Trigo, who came and played for the Mash Eagles, I believe,
he certainly
in the T20 comp
Absolutely.
when had that going on.
A couple of years ago, yes.
Pete Trigo was the man sort of job for me. The youngsters sort of bashing it around the second team. So quite a brave move from our coach, who's also very good mates with Pete and played with him when he was younger. But on my debut, I was scheduled to bat 5. I was playing against Surrey. We bowled first, and they got 204, I think. And I was down to bat at 5. And we had Babar Azam and Tom Banton going really well. We were 120 odd for 1, I think. And the coach just said to me, probably 2 balls before I went in, he said, "Eddie, you're next." Probably trying to exploit the short boundary with a left-hander.
Yes.
So I had no time to really think about what I was going to try and do. But one thing he did say to me is that he said, "You're next, but don't waste any balls, just go and express yourself." And that was probably the best thing he could have said to me at that moment, because I went out there, first ball, played a massive reverse sweep against Tahir. I missed it and it had a massive appeal. Looked like the umpire was going to give me first ball. He didn't anyway. And I went on to make 54 or I think 19 balls. And sort of don't really remember much of it because, I don't know, it just all happened so quick. And, from there I had a couple other impactful innings. And, here I sit and picked in 100 drafts, which is incredible.
It is. It's absolutely wonderful. But on a lighter note, Eddie, what is it with Zimbabwean batsmen and reverse sweeps? We've had so many reverse sweepers over the last 2 decades, from Dave Houghton to Andy Flower, Brendan Taylor, Sean Williams, and yourself.
Yeah.
What is it in the culture of Zimbabwe batting that so many people love to reverse sweep, do you think?
Well, I don't know. I think maybe if you look at me and Andy, we were probably both pretty small when we were younger. And some boys, when they are young, they're a lot bigger than the rest of us, and they can just stand there and bludgeon the ball through the field. I wasn't one of those. I had to sort of learn how to, learn the deft touches and, the sort of the finer parts of batting.
Yeah.
Reverse sweeps, reverse sweep being one of those shots, the paddle sweep, all those sorts of things to try and manoeuvre the field, as opposed to being able to just launch the ball over the boundary. And then as you get older and bigger and stronger, you're able to then do both.
Well, Eddie Byrom, it's been absolutely wonderful talking to you. I guess just for the sake of many Zimbabwean cricket supporters who follow you very closely, I can assure you, what would you like to say to them? Is there anything in particular, any form of message you would have for those Zimbabwean fans?
I've got nothing but absolute respect for all the people I've worked with, and all the people that supported me from when I was very small. and believed in me. I think, to name a few, I think Doug Higgins, when I was quite small, was very influential and good for me.
Yeah.
David Mutendera, who played for Zimbabwe as well.
Yeah.
There was a famous picture of him playing against Australia with a 9 slips. And he was one of my earliest coaches, so God knows how I became a batsman. But he was massively influential for me at St. John's Prep. Then Doug, and then a massive influence for me was also Walter Chalguta. Spent a lot of time with him in the nets. He took my under-17 tour to South Africa, and he really played a big role in the sort of cricketer that I am today. Ian Tinker as well, was big for me. Really had some great theories on the game. And, so there were so many people growing up that helped me, supported me, believed in me. And, without them, you just never know where you would be otherwise. So, I probably missed out a couple of people there, but they're probably the main ones that I'd say a massive thank you to.
Well, that was Eddie Byrom, and what a fantastic conversation it was. What a wonderful young man he is, and now making Somerset his new home. And if he continues to score runs consistently wherever he bats in the order, hopefully in a couple of years' time, England, his adopted country. And I think we all understand and support what Eddie has done. So thank you very much indeed for listening to the Dean at Stumps podcast, and we'll be back again pretty soon. But until then, it's goodbye.